2:47 a.m., Cheating Story Lab. A photograph from the guest room caught my attention. Was this familiar? My private investigator had sent an image of an extravagant Patek Philippe watch, costing more than most cars. The watch belonged to Gregory Ashford, my business partner of 12 years, who was also my best man at my wedding and close friend to my wife Helena. Upon seeing the picture, a chill ran down my spine. It wasn't anger or shock, but a clear understanding of what actions lay ahead. Flashback 6 months. Cassandra and I celebrated 14 years of marriage. We had built a comfortable life with a restored Victorian in an affluent neighborhood, 2 luxury vehicles, and yearly trips to Europe. Professionally, I managed a commercial real estate firm alongside Gregory, while Cassandra ran a successful high-end interior design business. However, the clarity that settled over me was not a pleasant one. Initially, we were the admired success story on paper. However, the first fissure emerged in March. Arriving home prematurely from a conference in Seattle, my keynote speech had been canceled due to a speaker running overtime, and I seized an early flight. Upon entering our house at 3 p.m. on a Thursday, I heard voices upstairs, laughter, not necessarily suspicious but intimately familiar. It was Cassandra's voice and a man's, the relaxed camaraderie indicative of frequent companionship. I hesitated in the foyer with my travel bag, listening. "You should be more cautious," Cassandra advised. "He may be clever, but he's strategically unaware," Gregory replied, his voice unmistakable. "He tends to observe only what he desires." I could have barged upstairs, confronting them immediately, but something held me back. Perhaps it was the professional training: never act impulsively in response to bad news, always collect information first. Maybe it was simply an instinctive decision. I placed my bag quietly, stepped out, shut the door more forcefully this occasion, calling, "Cass, you here?" The hurried sound of footsteps, a door closing. Cassandra emerged from upstairs, smoothing her blouse. "Thought you weren't arriving until tonight, didn't you?" I inquired, glancing at her face. "Conference ended early," was the response. "All good," she added, though seemingly rehearsed. "Finishing some design work, just give me a few minutes and I'll join you." As Gregory emerged from behind his laptop, carrying his bag, he informed me about Cass showing him renovation ideas for the office. He departed, leaving me to watched my wife give me a kiss on the cheek, inquiring about my travels. Spied on her as she sauntered effortlessly around the house, looking smug as if she had escaped detection. That evening I tossed and turned, hatching a plan. In dealing with commercial real estate, one learns the virtue of patience. You don't hastily dive into deals. You delve, probe, gather evidence, and only then do you strike. These same principles came to play here. The following morning, I engaged a private investigator by the name of Raymond Coe, a former federal agent renowned for handling high-net-worth divorce cases. His fees were steep, but his discretion absolute. "I want it all," I instructed him. "Financial records, correspondences, activities. I need to discern if this is a recent development or if I've been oblivious for far too long. And if you uncover evidence that I find unsatisfactory," Raymond inquired, "then I'll require it presented in a manner suitable for court." For the subsequent 3 months, I played the loving spouse. I bid Cassandra farewell each morning. I treated her to dinners at our preferred eateries and proposed a vacation in Tuscany for our anniversary. Meanwhile, Raymond was occupied. The first clues surfaced in April. Hotel security footage from downtown depicted Cassandra and Gregory registering together on 3 different days, all of which coincided with business trips when I was away. A timestamp on one video showed their arrival at 11 a.m. and departure at 4 p.m. The second revelation pointed to financial discrepancies. Cassandra had secretly opened a private bank account that I was unaware of. Over the previous 18 months, she transferred $73,000 from our joint account into this undisclosed account, with each transaction under $5,000 to evade detection. The third piece of information was more alarming. Gregory had engaged in similar activity. He'd been stealing money from our business account for 2 years, not large sums, but enough to remain beneath the amount requiring my authorization. In total, he had taken nearly $200,000. In Ray's office, I scrutinized the evidence as if examining a land title deed. "They've got something brewing," Ray remarked. "Stashing money means readying for a significant shift. A divorce, I suggested, but there's more to it." Across the desk, he pushed another document. "I traced the account registration records. It's not solely Cassandra's name. Gregory is also named as a co-owner. Realizing the connotations, it wasn't merely an affair. This was a calculated scheme. They were amassing funds, establishing a war chest, preparing to bring down both marriages and depart unscathed together. I require more, I told Ray. How much more? Evidence solid enough for both criminal and civil trials. He appraised me. You're not just preparing for a divorce, you're planning to ensure they never betray anyone else in this manner again. It was then that I decided on a course of action that would alter everything. Our residence was equipped with a standard security system, motion sensors, door alarms, and all. However, I had never installed cameras indoors due to Cassandra's concern for privacy. I contacted a security company with whom I'd collaborated on commercial projects. The technician who arrived was both proficient and discreet. I require hidden cameras in the master bedroom, guest room, and home office, I instructed him. They must be concealed. My wife can't be aware of their existence. He cautiously replied, that's a questionable area legally. The house belongs to me solely, I clarified. My name is on the deed. I'm not recording anyone who doesn't reside here, merely documenting occurrences within my own home. The technician proceeded with the installation. A smoke detector in the bedroom, camouflaged among other devices. A lens hidden behind the air vent in the guest room. A camera integrated into a table lamp in the office. My data streams were directed solely to a server I had exclusive access to. Subsequently, I arranged a business excursion lasting 2 weeks in Chicago, aimed at liaising with possible investors for a novel development project. A month prior, I shared this schedule with Cassandra along with all the specifics, including the conference itinerary. 2 whole weeks, she remarked, and I perceived a sentiment in her eyes that was not despair, but rather relief. Alas, I said, yet it's an immense prospect if this agreement materializes. We're discussing returns in the 9-figure range. You should definitely participate, she suggested, and she kissed me. I'll miss you dearly, yet this could be extraordinary for us. The term us felt like dust on my departure one Tuesday morning, bidding farewell to my wife. I expressed my love before leaving. Following that, I checked into a hotel 40 minutes away and monitored the camera feeds from my laptop, with no activity observed during the initial 2 days. Cassandra went to work, returned home, watched television, retired early, acting as usual. On the 3rd day, I began doubting my calculations. At 11 a.m., Gregory's car appeared in my driveway, and as expected, he had a key. He and Cassandra strolled through my house as if it were their own, chatting and touching. Despite the hour, Cassandra poured wine, and they sat on my couch to discuss their schemes with a nonchalant air of security. Fletcher won't see it coming, Gregory stated in the recording. He trusts me implicitly. By the time he understands what's happening, we'll have our assets transferred offshore. Regarding Helena, he added, she'll manage. She has family wealth, and she doesn't require my help. He drew Cassandra nearer. In 2 more months, we'll conclude this charade. We filed for irreconcilable differences concurrently, and by the time the chaos subsided, we found ourselves in Portugal with sufficient funds to live comfortably. They ascended to the upper floor, and I scrutinized the bedroom CCTV footage devoid of emotion, recorded time indices, jotted down each spoken word in their dialogue. As they believed themselves alone and private, they divulged account numbers, referenced an offshore bank, spoke about forged signatures on business documents, providing me with all necessary information. On the 5th day, Gregory left his expensive Patek Philippe watch on the nightstand. Valued at $47,000, I had also been present when he purchased it to celebrate our firm's major deal. He noticed its absence the following morning, returned when Cassandra was away, and retrieved it. However, I had images, time-stamps, proof that placed him in my room on a day I claimed to be in Chicago. This is when I texted Raymond at 2:47 a.m. with the discovery. I found this in the guest room. Does it look familiar? His reply arrived 3 minutes later. Here's all the information you require. What's your next step? I suggest arranging a meeting with Helena Ashford. I believe it's crucial she learns about her spouse. We met at a downtown cafe, a neutral location. Helena was polished, composed, the type of woman who was raised in wealth and carried herself with an unwavering air of dignity. Moreover, I discovered she was 7 months pregnant. Fletcher, she said cautiously. Given Raymond's urgency, I felt compelled to present her with this evidence. I moved my tablet across the table. I apologize for viewing this, but you must see these. I showed her all the details, hotel footage, financial records, and home surveillance from my residence. Her expression shifted from confusion to understanding to a calm fury. For how long? She inquired at last. At least 18 months, verifiable, possibly more. She remained silent for a considerable duration, her hand instinctively touching her swollen belly. Are you absolutely positive about the embezzlement? Gregory has taken almost $200,000 from our business. Cassandra has been transferring funds into a shared account. They intend to file simultaneous divorces and flee to Portugal. Understood. Her voice was cold. What's your plan? I'm filing for divorce and pressing charges against Gregory for embezzlement and fraud. The evidence is strong. My lawyers believe we could get 5 to 7 years minimum, but I thought you should be informed first. You're pregnant with his child. You have choices concerning your own situation. Helena rewatched the footage, her expression unchanged. I want copies of everything. Already prepared. I gave her a flash drive. Financial records, surveillance footage, communication logs, it's all here. Thank you for informing me. She got up, gathered her belongings. She thought Gregory believed himself to be intelligent, always holding the belief he was the most intelligent person in any given space. It was high time someone corrected this notion. At the door, she paused. I'll submit my resignation tomorrow. I want him served at the office in full view of everyone, I responded. Let him experience the sting of public embarrassment. That can easily be arranged. She turned back. Remember that Patek Philippe watch he left at your house? It was my grandfather's. Gregory claimed it had been appraised and stolen from a jeweler, but it seems all the pieces have fallen into place. He filed an insurance claim for $65,000 and received the payout 3 months ago. That's insurance fraud, Fletcher, federal charges. Her smile was sharp as a razor. Now we're on the same page. The following week moved like a game of chess. Helena and I collaborated with our lawyers. We assembled every shred of evidence, matched each transaction, and built watertight cases. On Monday, Gregory was served divorce papers at the office. He phoned me urgently, sounding distressed. You need to speak with Helena, he said. She seems delusional. She's accusing you of having an affair and embezzling from the business. Did you? He inquired, then fell silent. Where is this coming from? I wondered. I simply want clarification, I added, as I was examining some questionable transactions in our company's accounts and feared my partner might be misappropriating funds. This seems illogical, but his tone had shifted, becoming unsure now. We should meet today, he said, but unfortunately, he's meeting with lawyers today specifically about his divorce proceedings. Cassandra and I are separating. There was a longer pause this time. What? You seem surprised. Didn't she inform you? I thought the two of you were close. The silence on the other end was peaceful. Cassandra received divorce papers that afternoon while attending a client meeting. She returned home furious, tossing the legal documents onto the kitchen counter where you were peacefully preparing dinner. What on earth is this? I glanced up from preparing vegetables. Separation papers. I assumed the title was self-explanatory. On what grounds? Infidelity, deception, and embezzlement. Pick one. Your complexion paled. You're delusional. I've never. Stop it. I set aside the knife, wiped my hands on a cloth. I have an 18-month collection of evidence against you, Cassandra, hotel records, financial statements, surveillance footage from this house depicting your and Gregory planning your move to Portugal. And before you consider lying, be aware that Helena already has the same evidence she's filed, and Gregory is currently under IRS audit. I observed her. Let it sink in. Watch the thoughts racing behind your eyes. We can resolve this, she said eventually. It was a mistake. It held no significance. The $200,000 you allegedly stole held significance. The joint offshore account holds significance. The recorded conversations about forging my signature on business documents, those certainly hold significance. You secretly recorded us at my home, which is perfectly legal. Do you want to listen to the part where Gregory calls me conveniently oblivious and sees what he wants? I smiled in response. It turns out I observe a great deal. The preliminary hearings were tough on them. Helena's lawyers showed no mercy, exposing every lie, hidden asset, and act of financial deceit. My attorneys concentrated on the business fraud, constructing a criminal case that had prosecutors eager to prosecute. The courtroom for the civil trial was filled to capacity. Mary and Cassandra attempted to defend themselves, but their arguments disintegrated under the weight of evidence. Their lawyers appeared exhausted, trying to justify the indefensible. Judge Miriam Thorne presided, a seasoned judge with 30 years on the bench and a reputation for ruthlessly dealing with dishonest litigants. Mr. Fletcher, she said, I've examined your evidence packages. I am ready to hear your summary. My attorney Robert Chen stood up. This case depicts a prolonged scheme involving fraud, larceny, and treachery. Mr. Fletcher's wife, Cassandra, and his business partner Gregory Ashford were involved in an extramarital affair while concurrently embezzling funds from both Mr. Fletcher's personal finances and their shared business. The prosecutor displayed the first exhibit on the courtroom screen, hotel surveillance, footage showing Cassandra and Gregory checking in together repeatedly. Although the affair itself is morally abhorrent, it is not the main concern of this case. Instead, it is the theft. Ms. Fletcher transferred $73,000 from their joint marital accounts to a private account she held with Mr. Ashford. Mr. Ashford pilfered $194,000 from the business operating account over a 26-month span, objected Gregory's attorney. However, the judge interrupted, stating, "Those were legitimate business expenses. I have not yet heard all the evidence." Robert's voice interjected through the interruption. Ashford submitted a false insurance claim for a watch he claimed was stolen, receiving $65,000. However, that very same watch was captured in photographs within Mr. Fletcher's bedroom, which Ashford had left behind after an interaction with Ms. Fletcher. The courtroom grew hushed, and Judge Thorne's countenance darkened. Robert displayed the bedroom surveillance footage, excluding the explicit scenes, but including their discussions. Gregory and Cassandra were heard planning, laughing about my naivety and outlining how they forged documents, transferred funds overseas, and fled to Portugal once they had drained our accounts. On the recording, I could hear my own voice asking, "Did you think you'd get away with it?" This was after I had confronted them one last time with Raymond present as a witness. "You're too trusting," Cassandra said on tape. "You always have been. Gregory said you'd never check the accounts. He said you'd just sign whatever he put in front of you, and you believed him." I raise objections. These records have been valid for 2 years. The courtroom was eerily quiet. Judge Thorne leaned over. "Ms. Fletcher, do you question the authenticity of these recordings?" Cassandra's lawyer seemed dejected. "No, Your Honor." "Mr. Ashford, are you challenging the financial records revealing systematic embezzlement from the business account?" Gregory attempted to speak, then fell silent upon hearing his attorney's whisper. He nodded. "No, Your Honor, let me make this clear." Judge Thorne's voice could shatter glass. "This court rules that Ms. Cassandra Fletcher and Mr. Gregory Ashford conspired intentionally to defraud Mr. Fletcher of both marital assets and business assets. The evidence is indisputable and substantial." She looked at the financial documents. "Ms. Fletcher must return every stolen dollar from marital accounts, with interest and penalties, and will receive nothing in the divorce settlement." In the prenuptial agreement, Mr. Fletcher's foresight protected his business interests, and due to her dishonest actions, she relinquished any rights to shared assets amassed during the marriage. Cassandra shed genuine tears, but Judge Thorne remained unmoved. Moreover, criminal charges for fraud and conspiracy are being proposed. "You'll be contacted by the district attorney's office," she addressed Gregory. "As for you, Mr. Ashford, you find yourself in a more precarious position. You stand accused of business fraud, insurance fraud, and embezzlement. The federal authorities are actively constructing a case involving offshore accounts and an insurance claim, anticipating that you'll serve a substantial prison sentence." "Your Honor," Gregory's lawyer interjected, standing up. "Please sit down." Judge Thorne's tone was unyielding. "If he's fortunate, he'll serve a minimum of 7 years in federal prison. However, if the prosecutors aim to set an example, they could push for 15 years. She looked at both of them, her voice filled with disappointment. "You two believed you were clever, thought you could pilfer from those who trusted and loved you, and then disappear into your Portuguese utopia. Instead, prison is where you're headed. You'll be financially devastated by legal fees and restitution, and the next decade will see you grappling with the repercussions of your actions." The gavel fell. "The proceedings are concluded." The fallout was swift and comprehensive. Cassandra vacated the house that week, taking only what the judge had permitted herself, along with her personal clothing and items acquired during the marriage. Everything else remained behind. The house, the vehicles, the investments, all were his. Gregory was apprehended for insurance fraud on the following Monday. Federal marshals escorted him out of the office in handcuffs while spectators looked on. The business alliance disintegrated. I acquired his stake at a minimal cost. His resources were immobilized, and he required funds for legal expenditures. 3 months later, Helena gave birth to a daughter. She sought and received full custody. Gregory would have monitored visits upon his release from prison, but that was the extent of it. Essentially, his parental rights were terminated by his own actions as the criminal trials progressed swiftly. Both confessed to avoid harsher penalties. Cassandra served 3 years for fraud and conspiracy. Gregory received a 9-year sentence in federal prison, with insurance fraud charges added to embezzlement offenses, and the judge showed no leniency. I sold the house. The abundance of memories and surveillance footage I didn't wish to revisit again made it unnecessary. Instead, I purchased a downtown loft, characterized by its modern design and cleanliness. I resumed dating with caution. I reconstructed the business from scratch, incorporating forensic accounting safeguards and robust partnership contracts this time around. Helena and I developed an unconventional friendship. We occasionally shared cups of coffee, discussing our respective healing journeys. Her daughter was stunning, bearing a striking resemblance to Helena while thankfully exhibiting none of Gregory's personality traits as of yet. "Do you regret it?" she inquired 6 months after the events unfolded. I pondered over it, the security camera footage, the missing funds, the callous remarks they made about my obliviousness. "No," I replied. "They chose their actions. They could have simply divorced us truthfully. They could have admitted falling out of love and wanted a way out. It would have been painful, but it would have been honest. Instead, they opted for theft, manipulation, treating us as pawns in a deceitful game. That required consequences," I agreed. Helena took a sip of her coffee. "Gregory contacted me recently from prison, seeking apologies and considering adjustments to the custody arrangement." "What was your response?" I asked. "Our daughter deserves more than a father who regards people as expendable assets." After ending the call, she gazed at me. "You made the correct decision, Fletcher. You safeguarded yourself, you protected me, and ensured they couldn't harm anyone else. That's not revenge, that's justice." Perhaps she was correct. I maintain all evidence stored in 3 distinct secure locations, not for viewing purposes, but as a reminder: trust your gut, fact-check, and document betrayal before acting. The watch that triggered everything, Gregory's Patek Philippe, was eventually confiscated by federal marshals as part of his asset forfeiture. As far as I know, it was auctioned off to compensate Helena and me. I hope the new owner understands the irony. Nowadays, I tread carefully with whom I trust. I verify, I document, I protect myself. Some find my perspective cynical. I see it as shrewd, given my experience of learning the bitter truth that those closest to you, who know your weaknesses, habits, and blind spots, can cause you the greatest harm if they wish, and there are those who will often choose to do so. Yet I've come to understand that you don't have to be a victim. You can be prudent. You can accumulate proof. You can construct an ironclad case and let justice take its natural course. This isn't the typical revenge narrative of heated exchanges or spectacles. It's about meticulous record-keeping and the law functioning as intended. At times, the sweetest triumph is watching someone self-destruct through their own recorded statements. Gregory and Cassandra provided me with the tool. All I did was wait for the opportune moment to employ it. And that's how a seemingly insignificant watch became the key thread that unraveled 2 lives, eventually rebuilding mine.